team. So let's do it. Let's segue to the team that Xiaohu did go to, because as Jensen said, Western fans won't know this, but actually that's not just a team with good players. Like in theory, on paper, that is a super team. I know you're not going to know that, but obviously you'll remember Quisp was fucking pretty cracked when FPX won Worlds. The Shy, do I even need to say anymore? By the way, it's still amazing. It's just like, as usual, he still has times he hints. By the way, he actually hints him way less. We'll get into that. They have Xiaohu, who can basically do both styles. He can play just as a laner, or he can just be, and by the way, he even fucking gapped Rookie this split. They have, Karsa, who admittedly, we'll get into that in a second, I notice is bizarrely in the West always gets like shit on by everyone. Like everyone always makes out like he's crap, but spoiler, there's a reason he's been in like, five of the best LPL teams ever or something at this point in time. Like he's always in those roster mixes. The reason he's there and other names aren't. So, and then obviously Light's the one you're not going to know if you're in the West, but he was a good player for sure. Like if you saw the old LNG, he was one of the players that was coming on like gradually growing in strength, and he's on the team anymore. But yeah, on paper, like this is a team where the Westerns maybe only know like the past year's lineups and stuff. I think this is one on paper where, again, what a good job this was in the off-season, Jensen. Like, this is a team that could genuinely contend for the title, be it Worlds, this MSI. Remember, we're gonna have two teams now. They could be in the mix for all this, right?
Yeah, I mean, I always do this very cursed thing where in February I say that this team is going to win Worlds, and Weibo Gaming is currently my pick.
Oh, that's the one you're cursing, right? Okay.
I mean, I think that it's not on the same level where I was looking at V5 last year or FPX 2 years ago, where I feel that this team has something special to it, and this team has got all these things going for them. I think.
Wait a minute. When you did that in the past, the team you picked was V5. Because here's what's sad is I can see why. I'd pick some different pieces, but obviously, if you know how that ended, that was so cursed. Like if you don't know, guys, they were actually like a top 2 LPL team most of the year, and then at the end they did the classic move, which sadly has happened to Rookie a lot, which is that everything just going to shit in the last like 3 weeks so badly you don't even qualify for it. That's pretty good, because that's like, at least here's the thing, mate, I've picked top a lot, but at least they get to Worlds. Like that's brutal that you had V5, because that couldn't have gone worse. Keep going, go on.
This is a team that on paper I think that it makes a lot of sense, right? The way that the pieces stylistically come together. But I think that it's probably one of the big super team syndrome teams where I feel that the games that they're losing is probably because there's a few too many cooks in the kitchen at this point of time. Where you're looking at these players, there's probably a little bit of too many voices happening at the same time. But once again, this is all just conjecture, right? I haven't heard of voice comms or anything.
Sure.
But this is definitely a team that I feel that whenever they're playing, with the exception of the JDG series, they're always in the driver's seat, and they're always the one controlling the pace of the game. I just want to give special props to Karsa, because the analogy I'm going to draw up here is that Karsa is kind of like a Lionel Messi, right? At the most recent World Cup, where you're still going to get these amazing Karsa moments from him, but like Lionel Messi, once in a while, where if you're thinking about the goal that France had, right, where he gets dispossessed all of a sudden, and if you just focus on that, he can look a little bit bad, right? When you look at some of these moments where he's playing a little bit too aggressively on these engages and he feels like he's hinting, but you have to realize that this guy has, I think, like six MVPs right now in the LPL. And this is a team that they fundamentally understand this is how you play the lane status of par, and this is how your jungler can then influence that accordingly. So I enjoy watching this team a lot, because there's a lot of things that I can watch this team and then say that this is how you replicate these certain ideas, and these are the ideas behind what they're doing to a certain extent. So that's the reason why I have them so highly. The one I would say the Achilles heel is probably actually going to be Light. Right, Light is a very solid AD carry. Don't get me wrong about that. And the way that he plays a lot of team fights and things like that, you would say that to use the concept of above or below par, right? He plays to par or above most of the time. It's just that whenever he has played in a lot of these previous playoff series, I feel that he might be a little bit of a choker. So he's somebody who is if I'm going to pick a reason as to why this team doesn't make the World Championship, it would be because Light chokes in the playoffs or during the World qualifying run.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts on Weibo, Kira? Pick whatever angle you want.
I think Weibo are a bit of maybe a little bit of a paper tiger right now, because their 2 wins were really their 2 big wins were really unconvincing. It was against their probably their biggest jewels in the crown is they beat TES in the first week, which was opening of LPL before Chinese New Year in spring, is whatever. And then obviously they beat GDG. Now, the way they beat GDG is the second game was sick. I'll give them that. That was very, very nice. Then the third game, I don't think Ruler running into your team and insta-killing himself 3 times is a recipe for a consistent way to win the game. Because Ruler doesn't do that often. And they decided to do it 3 times consecutively. And when I watched that, I was just like, and they were like, GDG were massively ahead. I would like to say though, Karsa is very, very sick. Right now, he is probably front runner for the best.
Just MVP or maybe, right?
Yeah, he is actually that good.
Yeah,
like
Karsa
right. Is fucking playing off the scales. He's actually been playing insane since that Weibo Cup that was played all the way back in the off season. Like some of the other guys, like the Shy, just didn't give a flying that cup, right? But Karsa was all over that shit, by the way. All those LDL junglers that were like playing against him, he was decimating them. He just handed every single one of them their arsehole. So I actually like the players on this team. I think this team will challenge to make worlds. I just actually can't see them winning the LPL. Another little weird factor for me is, and Karsa doesn't always have this rep, but it has become more and more, particularly from his TES days into his V5 days, is where there's like a drop-off when it comes to playoffs. It's inexplicable.
Sure.
I don't know why, because when I look at Karsa, I think, well, his series prep needs to be like insane. Like if he gets to like download the enemy jungle and get lots of time, he would like, you know what I mean, wreck them. But it just doesn't happen. Karsa ends up playing worse somehow sometimes, and he can end up losing your key games and stuff. I think this team is pretty good. I like the bot lane. I think the bot lane actually play out their matchups pretty well. I agree with Jensen here. Light's a very just par ADC, quite consistent. I actually do think he's also maybe a little bit of a choker in like key situations, but like not like drastically, just maybe plays worse than his like regular period. So it's like a team that I think is mega interesting, and I'll like keep my eye on. But my account of them right now is I don't actually think they're as strong as maybe their record shows. The Shy is an interesting thing. I know you were going to talk about them, Thorin. One highlight of this team is if you can win games when the Shy goes 0-21 across 3 games, you've probably got like a reasonably good style and understanding of how to win games. Because when he starts playing well, he still plays out like lane states and all that very well, but he over pushes, he gets greedy, he sometimes picks Nidalee for some strange reason. Like the Shy is the Shy. I still think he's very enjoyable to watch. I wouldn't just remove him or replace him on a fancy, because when you're watching him, he still shows those like properties where he could just like beat anyone. You basically you can always just kind of see like the glimmers. That's why Dom and Kedro always hype it up to like the fans when they're watching them, because there is that potential where it's just that game where like it doesn't matter what the other 4 people do. Like the Shy ends it in like 15 minutes.
Yes. I want to actually ask you, Jensen, what your thoughts were on the Karsa topic. Because as I say, it's one of the players. Look, the LPL is already the region where I feel like it's like fucking. When I watch the games, then I go and read like Western Reddit. I'm like, are you even watching the same one? But like this player especially, dude, they hard flame the fuck out for years in the West. Like they genuinely act that this guy's a bomb. Like I think part of it must be the ones who don't watch the LPL. He has been on a lot of the hyped LPL teams. That he was obviously on RNG, it was supposed to win Worlds, and then he was obviously on the fucking top esports that was supposed to win Worlds, and then V5 we all told everyone was the best fucking LPL team. They didn't make it. Look, I get that, and I also agree with Kira actually. To be fair, his problem is, like a lot of great junglers, to be fair, oftentimes it'll be the elimination series where he'll have a couple of bad games that'll look like screamers, and if you only saw that, you're going to go like, he was bad this split. But like again, as you say, like he's like one of the best players in the whole LPL right now, and the amount of years he has been. Remember the guys, he came from the LMS. Like he's done like like they had I'll give you a great line that they had about Kobe Bryant. Right, if a lot of people know, he changed his like shirt number halfway through his career, roughly, right? And the goated line that people said was, if you actually just looked at his numbers in championships, it actually meant that he had 2 Hall of Fame careers, because each number could have gone in the Hall of Fame. Like each one had like 3 or 2 championships, like all these points. The joke with Karsa is it's like that. He had like 2 Hall of Fame careers. He was already a bona fide legend for all the shit in the LMS, beating all those Korean teams 1 billion fucking times over every. And then he just came to the LPL and was in like the best teams, like I say, contenders for like half a decade now. Like the guy's mad cracked. It's just, I wonder what you think it is. Like what are people missing about this player? What's the biggest strength you'd describe to a Westerner, Jensen, about Karsa?
what people don't get about Karsa is he's a very idiosyncratic player, right? Like you have the way I used to frame it, there's three kind of ways you can play the jungle. You can play like Karsa, you can play like Kennen, or you can play like SOFM, right? SOFM is not necessary. I don't think he's not playing the LPL this year, but the way that Karsa plays is that he's very self-sacrificial for his team, right? And people will look at Marang and in the LEC and say, oh, this is all he's doing. He's just like ganking and camping all these lanes and stuff like that. But the difference between Marang and Karsa is that Marang is just simply picking up free kills, right? Is that people in the LEC, they do not know how to lane. They put themselves into these bad scenarios, and Marang say, oh, okay, I guess instead of getting a camp this with 100 gold, I'm going to get 300 gold camps at the bot lane instead, right? But the way that Karsa plays the game, he's the only person who does these red buff into bot lane, 3 camps into bot, 2 camps into bot kind of laning patterns. And then people will see him end the game with 70 CS, right? With a Great Mem Split and Poppy and nothing else. And when people look at that, of course, when he wins, it's like, oh, okay, sure, and stuff like that, right? But when the team starts losing and stuff, and you look at the stats and things like that, you compare him to the rest of the other junglers, and he's going to look very, very bad. Because it's not playing the same style carry junglers, it's not playing the Bel'Veth and all these style things that some of these other players are playing, and he's just playing in this very, I'm playing for my lanes, I'm playing to set my lanes up to succeed kind of fashion as well. So people who just look at the stats, they'll think that he's a bad player, and they don't really understand this is what he's seeing. He understands that even if I do red buff into bot lane over here, even if I don't get the gank happening, the fact that I now get pride for my bot lane means that my Lucian army can get the serrated duck by over the Zeri's Vampire Accepted by, right? Which then flips the bot lane matchup. So it's these small little things that Karsa understands and Karsa does that people don't see and people don't realize when it comes to these style things. And I think that the other big thing is that I think in a lot of the marquee matchups and a lot of the key matchups, like if you think back to V5 last year in the spring split, Karsa and Rookie actually were losing 2v2 to Knight and Tian. Right, and that's the reason why they lost in the playoffs. And it's easy to look at this and say that, oh, okay, this is where Karsa presses buttons and things like that. Karsa's washed and all that kind of stuff. And I guess you can say that that's a little bit of where you can give him criticisms, where his judgment on winning skirmishes and team fights isn't on the same level as some of these other junglers in the LPL, but his overall mind for the game, and once again, he's this player coach, right? He has this leadership figure, and he brings all these qualities to his team, and he understands the map control aspect of the game as well. This is the reason why he is way above any of these other players. He's very articulate, he knows how to express himself, and he can elevate the level of any team that he plays for on.
Yeah. Fair play. See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.